Hi, Professor Pittman here. Key number 7. Key number 7 is focus on the positive, and that's something that we all hear. And also part of this key is passion will empower you to focus on what is right with an idea, all the stuff that's going on around you and inside of your head, rather than focusing on what's wrong. In other words, don't ask, okay, why not? Ask, how can? And if you're going to be a leader, you got to understand in advance and make these pre-decisions that, listen, we live in a fallen world, bad stuff's going to happen, it's always going to happen. However, getting caught off into that bad stuff that does happen or is happening doesn't necessarily, help you kindle and care for the passion that you have, or the passion that you want to enjoy, or the passion that you want to use as the fuel to get where you and those that you care for, where it is you want to end up and go. Remember, everyone around, they all know what the negative is. They all know what's negative. Everybody can talk about the negative. It's super easy. Heck, it's even super fun. Sometimes we have emotional spikes, from it. But your job is to make certain that you spend more of your time and energy focusing on that is positive, that you do have going on. And I'm going to do my best in this video to give you 3 examples of this key and how it's applied to different areas of life, and I'll do my best to give you more examples inside our classroom. So I'll try to give you how this is applied in business, some examples that I know, my own martial arts journey, maybe working with the idea of athletics. So let's narrow it down and really reflect on this key for a second. When someone tells me why not, and then they can't give me an example of how can they do something or how can something happen, I just know that means that they're really not turned on or tuned in or tapped into a big enough concept or vision or idea that will serve as a catalyst to get what it is they say they really want, get them putting one foot in front of the other. The Bible says without it, people perish. So here's a business example. I got a friend of mine who has a partner and they're in business together, and they're in the business of buying businesses. And I remember about 6 to 8 months ago, my friend and his partner had a seller who wanted to sell his business for something like $320,000. And my friend said, terrific, and his partner said, no, we're not going to pay that. Heck, we can't even pay that. And my friend said, well, now hold on. Let's not confuse us not getting that amount with not willing to pay that particular amount. I hope I said that right. See, in business, there are 2 separate entities or distinctions. Just because you think, we should not be willing to pay that doesn't mean that you can't get that funded or that amount paid. So rather than allowing the seller's statement that he wants $320,000 for his business to dismantle my friend and his partner's passion or enthusiasm for acquiring that particular business, they just decided that, okay, there's no way we're going to pay that kind of money. And after that, they decided, well, what can we pay? And how is that money going to get over there? And then what they did was they created a win-win. They actually made that happen. So in this example in business, it just went from, well, we can't pay that $320,000. Okay, agreed. So what can we do? That's the focus. What can we do? And once they discovered that, to make a long story short, my friend and his partner went from $320,000 to not even having to write a check. And they did, in fact, acquire that business, and the seller got his money, and everybody was super happy. So again, it's not about why not. It's about how can. And that answer is always there. It's always available. And you got to go, you got to study. You got to do your homework. And what's interesting in my mind is that the greatest success in your life that has already happened, whether you realize it or not, you shifted from a why not to a how can. Like, for example, myself. If you were to go back long enough in history, there was a time where, the idea of me becoming a black belt was beyond my self-concept. The idea of being blessed to help a bunch of folks through Jiu-Jitsu and being happily married with kids was beyond my self-concept. And here we are today. I'm a 5th degree black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. My life, for me, has gotten much better. I'm just saying that, I'm not trying to brag or something. I'm just saying that it's amazing to me what people can do in terms of exceeding their expectations based on an adjustment in their beliefs and an adjustment in their self-concept. So in my example, what I did was I said, the reason why, why that happened, why I went from here to over there, was at one point it was beyond my self-concept, and that is I didn't know how to do it. And I didn't even see it. and I just had all these why nots. I can't do that. I live in Lubbock, and my teacher lives way far away. I need to finish college first. I can't do that. I work, I can't raise a happy family because I work odd hours. I can't do that because my father and mother this, and I can't do it because of this and that and this other thing. I just believe that what happened was, and this is where where I'm changing and shifting my relationship to my relationship of things. That's how things became more valuable to me, was I just agreed with myself that, okay, I agree I can't do that. So let's not do that. But what can we do? What flexibility can I endure to reshape in my imagination this brilliant outcome that leaves me with the passionate sensation of, you know what, now I am confident that I can accomplish that. However, if I would have over-focused on the why nots, I can't do that, because of this and that, as opposed to the how cans, I would have never or not even given myself the best chance to be blessed. So this is this key in my mind. This is also a key to understanding life. This is the key to fueling your passion. So I just know that so often people surrender too early, and there's a reason for that too. If you're going to be passionately showing up and getting stuff done, there's a reason for that. And if you're going to be throwing your hands up and walking away and surrendering, well, there's a reason for that too. I'll give you another great example. Working out, getting fit, getting in shape. My mind, especially when we're talking about, maybe, in my mind, younger guys, we were looking at the wrong stuff. We fell into the trap that I believe a lot of men fall into especially, is they start looking at like pro bodybuilders, the big guys, like Arnold Schwarzenegger types and etc. All the people, that they see in movies and on covers of magazines, all the people they look at, you get turned on by that, and you start thinking, man, I need to get some super duper muscles and start looking super good. And you start looking at super fit people on the cover of these magazines, and they're all hanging out with beautiful people, and then you start going to the gym. But then comes the stark reality of what you really have to do, and what you have to do is so much because it conflicts with your personal self-concept. And it just extinguishes your passion, just like blowing out a match. Listen, you can blow out a match, but you can't blow out a bonfire. And the way you create that bonfire, team, is you don't ask why not. And if you are asking why not, you need to shift it. You don't even shift it to a how come. You just got to ask the question, how can? How can I go from this to that? How can I shift my thinking from here to there? And there's always an answer. And that's this key, and that's how you can fuel your passion. So keep in mind that the moment you start asking silly questions like, or about why not, or, how come, and I just say silly because if you keep asking those kind of questions, you're never going to break a record. You're never going to break the 5-minute mile or whatever, the 4-minute mile or whatever it is, as to oppose if you start asking the question, how can? How can? And you start making statements like, there's a tremendous amount of gnats. If you start making statements like, I can't, or I won't, or I don't, or that's just not me, as soon as you start asking these kind of negative questions and your head goes into that direction, you're going to dismantle whatever enthusiasm, excitement, whatever passion you had for the original particular outcome. So for the sake of time, I'm going to wrap this up and try to tie it up. You got to focus on the positive. Again, it's not why not. And I'll give you some more examples in our classrooms in regards to my personal examples of working with people, relationships with my spouse, raising my children, etc., etc. Again, this key is how do you keep your passion alive by focusing on the positive aspects of challenges and not allow your personhood to dissipate, but actually have that challenge when you're impacted by it. Actually have it be a learning moment and a teaching moment so you become more of who you need to become. Listen, it's always my pleasure working with you. Thank you very much. I look forward to working with you next time. In the meantime, keep the faith, keep working, and God bless.